poor girl helped an old woman being humiliated on the bus, not knowing she is a billionaire. Welcome to Nigerian Folktales. Subscribe for fresh content, and let's explore the richness of tales. Join our community of like-minded story lovers. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment for new stories every week. Thanks. Let's know where you are watching from in the comments section. Lagos, a city that never sleeps, where traffic has more attitude than politicians, and money talks louder than the pastor's microphone on a Sunday morning. And at the top of it all, Madam Jane Uma. If you don't know her name, then maybe you just landed from Mars. Madam Jane was not rich. She was wealth itself. Owner of J-Tech Systems, Nigeria's most powerful tech company. Madam Jane could cough and an entire industry would catch fever. She had houses in Banana Island, Abuja, London, Dubai. Even rumors say she once bought a whole street in Lekki just because her driver missed her turn. She didn't walk. She floated. She didn't speak. She commanded. And when she sneezed, the economy said, "God bless you." But despite all this glory, Madam Jane had a hole in her heart. A wide, silent, empty hole that all the money in the world could not fill. Her husband was dead. Cancer. Her only child had died with him. Accident. And since then, Madam Jane had lived surrounded by shadows. Staff who smiled because they wanted a raise, relatives who only visited when the topic was inheritance, and suitors who suddenly wanted to love a 56-year-old woman with back pain and 7 bank accounts. Nobody saw her. They only saw what she had. Her mansion was big enough to host the Olympics. But at night, she still hugged her pillow and cried like a schoolgirl who lost her lunchbox. She had wealth, but not one person to call mine. Then one quiet Tuesday, after overhearing her lawyer talk about her will, and how her cousins were already discussing who would take her Bentley, Madam Jane stood in front of her mirror and made a decision. It is time to find out who is real. The next morning, Lagos nearly collapsed. Madam Jane has gone on vacation, her secretary announced. Vacation? Since when did she rest? She had never taken a break. She once attended a Zoom board meeting during a surgery. But the news was true, only that it wasn't a beach in Seychelles or a spa in Calabar. No, Madam Jane was at Oberlin bus stop, dressed like a poor, dirty, half-blind old woman. Her hair? Grayed with powder and palm oil. Her wrapper? Torn like it had fought a tiger. Her eyes? Hidden behind glasses, as thick as plantain chips. Nobody recognized her. Not even the Okada men who used to shout, "Ani Jane Nayu," when she passed. She stood there under the morning sun, pretending to wobble like her knees were about to expire. Then came the first insult. Mama, go come to bed, you day smell. Who still day in her bus like this? Nawa, oh. A bus conductor slammed the door in her face. Another one hissed and asked, "Why old people no day die quick again?" Madam Jane felt tears sting her eyes. Not because of the insult, but because she finally saw the true Lagos. Then, a soft voice, a kind voice, a miracle. "Mama, come and take my seat." She turned, and there stood Rita Nwokolo, dark-skinned beauty, neatly dressed in a faded floral gown that had seen better days but was ironed like it came from a boutique. Her shoes were tired, but her smile was fresh. She looked like someone who had cried and still came out smiling. Rita stood beside her and gently helped her into the bus. "Don't mind them, Mama. This Lagos is just tough." "You'll be fine," she said with a warmth that made Madam Jane's chest ache. The driver started moving. Rita stood the whole ride while the so-called big men sat and ignored the old woman. Not one person offered help. Not one. In Lagos, when you see someone well-dressed, never assume they have money. Sometimes, all they have is a good iron, a strong will, and a stubborn refusal to look like their problems. Rita Nwokolo was one of such people. First daughter. Orphan. Graduate of Lagos State University. Survivor of poverty. Mother to her younger siblings. 3 of them, all stubborn like pure water sachets on a windy day. Her parents died in a fire incident that left only one thing behind: responsibility. Rita was job hunting for almost 2 years. She had submitted CVs in offices, churches, even at birthday parties. She had begged, cried, fasted, and at some point considered selling pure water just to put food on the table. But she refused to beg. She refused to compromise. She woke up every morning, prayed with her siblings, and said, "I will make it. Even if Lagos wants to disgrace me, I will disgrace it back." That morning, when she stood at the bus stop and saw the dirty old woman, Madam Jane in disguise, her first thought wasn't, "EW, this one smells." It was, "What if that was my mother?" So she gave up her seat in the bus, even though her feet were already screaming from yesterday's trekking. She defended the old woman like a lawyer on fire. When other passengers mocked her, she shut them up with one sentence: "Respect is not for the rich. It's for humans." When they got to Lekki, she helped the woman out and even dusted her wrapper. The old woman said she was a cleaner. Rita smiled. "At least you have a job, Mama. That's better than some people I know." They walked together until they reached the mighty gates of JTech Systems. The building stood tall, proud, and intimidating, like a judge waiting to reject someone's destiny. Glass windows that shine like diamonds. Security that looked like they were trained by the FBI. Staff walking like their feet didn't touch the ground. Rita's heart beat fast. Her palms were sweating. This was the big day. The biggest tech company in Lagos. The job opening was for a front desk assistant. Salary? Enough to buy Indomie without checking price. And respect? Unlimited. She adjusted her file, smiled at the old woman, and said, "Wish me luck, Mama." The old woman nodded slowly. "Luck is already following you like a shadow." Rita walked in. Her interview was strange. They asked her odd questions. Would you steal office supplies if you were hungry? Can you smile even when insulted? Would you help a cleaner clean? Rita answered truthfully, with boldness and humility. She wasn't trying to impress. She was just being herself. An hour later, the HR manager called her aside. "Miss Rita, unfortunately, the front desk position has been taken, but we're offering you another role. Cleaner." Cleaner? Cleaner? Her heart dropped. This was not the dream. But then she remembered her siblings waiting at home. She remembered the rice she didn't have, the rent she owed, the school fees that were threatening to disgrace her life. So she took the job, with a smile, because dignity is not in the title. It's in the heart. And as she was being shown to the janitor's locker, who did she see? The old woman, sweating, trying to mop the long corridor. Their eyes met. "Mama, you got the job?" "Yes, that's a cleaner." The old woman smiled. "We are now colleagues." They laughed, but the laughter did not last long. As Rita turned to go fetch her mop, she heard voices. "This old cargo is still working here? Is a charity we're doing. She'll sweep 1 tile per hour." Nonsense. It was the staff. The same people who greeted the CEO like angels greeting God. One even kicked the old woman's mop bucket for fun. Then came the manager, Mr. Collins, a tall, arrogant man with a receding hairline and a tongue sharper than broken bottle. He looked at the old woman with disgust. "What is this one still doing here? If you can't keep up, go and die." Rita froze. Something inside her boiled. She dropped her mop, marched over, and said, "That's enough, sir. She's doing her best." The office went silent. Mr. Collins blinked. "Who are you to talk when elders are speaking?" "I'm the cleaner who still has a heart," she said. The old woman's eyes watered. Madam Jane watched her from behind the glasses and thought to herself, this girl has no idea she just opened the door to a miracle. After work, Rita shared her lunch with her, even though it was just Gary and groundnut. She took her home, gave her one of her old wrappers, even offered her small cream. "Mama, you're beautiful, oh. You just need small upgrade," she teased. They laughed like two sisters. One rich, one poor, yet both the same. And when salary came, the old woman handed her the money. "Take mine too. You've done more than I can repay." Rita shook her head. "No, Mama, that's for you. You deserve it." And then the next day, the old woman disappeared. Gone. Nowhere to be found. No number. No trace. No footprints. Just a note on Rita's bed. "Thank you, Rita, for clothing me feeding me and loving me. I will repay you. One day soon. Rita held a note to her chest and whispered, "Repay me? With what, Mama? You don't owe me anything." But fate had other plans. Big plans. The kind that would shake all of Lagos. Rita came to work the next morning singing, "You are God," from beginning to the end. She held her mop like it was a golden sword. Life may not be perfect, but at least she had a job. She had never cleaned tiles before, but by day 3, she could make marble shine like glass. Her muscles ached, her fingers peeled, and her back cried, "I am not your mate." But she endured it all with grace. Then came the shock. "Mama didn't come today," she whispered. The old woman had vanished. No call, no goodbye, not even a cough in the air. Rita asked security. Nothing. She asked HR. They said, "She's probably sick or dead." That woman old well. Rita laughed. "A bag. Mama is stronger than she looks. She's the only person I know that sweeps with style." Still, she worried. At lunchtime, Rita sat alone under the mango tree where she and Mama usually ate together. Her food had no taste. Her heart felt like unripe plantain, heavy and hard. She went home that day hoping to find Mama waiting, but instead, a piece of paper rested on her mattress. She opened it, and her eyes began to mist. "Dear Rita, thank you for all you've done, for sharing your food, for giving me your wrapper, for speaking for me when others mocked me, for seeing me, not my smell, not my wrinkles, not my poverty, but me. I told you I would repay you, and I will, soon. Mama." Rita sat there confused. Pay me with what? Her arthritis? But the days rolled by, and the company buzzed with gossip. Madam Jane is returning soon. She just got back from a secret trip abroad. Someone said she's bringing in foreign investors. Oh, Rita didn't care about all that. All she wanted was to know if Mama was safe. Until one Monday morning, everything changed. That day began like every other. Rita came early, swept the main hall, dodged insults from 2 secretaries who treated her like she was mopping without bono, and avoided eye contact with Manager Collins, whose hobby was shouting like a Nigerian police without a warrant. Then the gate flung open. A convoy of black jeeps drove in, surrounded by security, men dressed like they just came back from Avengers training. Then stepped out Madam Jane Uma, the Queen of Tech, the Empress of Lagos. Madam Jane was glowing, not from makeup, but from money and power. Her gown was so expensive, one sleeve could pay rent for 3 years in Adjugunal. Her heels clicked like a judge banging a gavel. Her eyes scanned the building like a general inspecting her troops. The entire office scattered. "Good morning, Ma." "Welcome back, Ma." "Your skin is glowing, Ma." "Your perfume smells like heaven, Ma." Even Manager Collins nearly broke his waist trying to bow. Rita stood quietly by the stairs, mop in hand. Watching, she whispered to herself, "That's my role model." Then something strange happened. Her name was called. "Cleaner Rita. Report to the boardroom immediately." Cleaner what? Boardroom? She wiped her hands on her wrapper and walked in, confused. As soon as she stepped into the room, all hell broke loose. The staff turned like angry hens. "What is SHE doing here? Why is a cleaner entering our meeting?" "Madam, you need to sack these cleaners with bad manners." "Cleaner, a bag, carry your mop, and go jor." Mr. Collins stood and pointed like he was casting out a demon. "Get out of here before I call security." Then, the door opened. Madam Jane entered. Silence fell like thunder. She didn't sit. She didn't speak. She walked to Rita and asked gently, "Do you remember me?" Rita blinked. "Ma." Madam Jane smiled. "You don't recognize me?" I've never spoken to you before, Ma," Rita stammered. Then it happened. Madam Jane removed her diamond earring, took off her heels, pulled off her wig, revealing gray streaks of hair underneath, and said in a calm voice, "I was the poor old woman you met at the bus stop, the one you fed, clothed, defended. You called me Mama. You shared your only lunch with me. You gave me your seat. You gave me your heart. The room froze. Someone coughed. Another one fainted in slow motion. Rita stood like a statue, mouth wide, eyes shaking. Madam Jane held her hands. You passed a test no one else even saw coming. She turned to Manager Collins. You called me useless. You mocked me. You kicked my mop bucket like I was trash. Ma, please? It was just a joke, he stuttered. You insulted kindness. And I don't need that in my company. Security entered the room. Escort him out. He fell to his knees. Ma, please. My wife just had twins. And now they'll grow up a father who learned humility the hard way, Madam Jane said. As he was dragged out, other staff tried to beg. One girl who once called Mama Smelly started crying. Ma, please forgive me, I didn't know. You didn't care to know, Madam Jane replied. That's worse. Then she turned to Rita. From this moment, you are no longer a cleaner. Ma, you are now the general manager of this company. The room gasped. And I'm making you a signatory to my estate. You'll oversee my properties, my companies, and every decision I make from now on. I don't deserve this. You do, because you saw the person, not the poverty. Rita burst into tears. She wasn't dreaming. The mop fell from her hand. The cleaner had just inherited a kingdom. Lego shook that morning. Twitter was on fire. Blogs screamed headlines like thunder. From mop to manager. Meet Rita, the girl who touched a billionaire's heart. Cleaner turned CEO overnight. Madam Jane's shocking reveal. Kindness pays. See what helping a dirty old woman did. Every radio station, every newspaper, even Rita's former class WhatsApp group. Everyone was talking about her. The girl who once begged for pure water money was now the woman signing checks. But with greatness comes enemies. And behind the cameras, the smiles and the online congratulations. The whispers had already begun. Inside the HR office, two secretaries hissed as they arranged files. She must have jazzed Madam Jane. A beg. Or maybe she's her lost daughter. I heard she helped her fight area boys. That's how she bought pity. This country, once dem dash you chance, boom, manager. Meanwhile, Rita? She was still trying to understand if all this was a dream. 1 minute she was scrubbing toilets. Next minute she was sitting in a leather chair worth more than her entire village. Her office was on the top floor now. Air-conditioned, soundproof, with a view of the ocean and a smart fridge that opened by itself. Her uniform? Replaced with fitted gowns, heels, makeup, perfume that smelled like royalty mixed with fresh dollars. But despite all this, she remained the same Rita. The one who still greeted cleaners, who still packed files herself, who still took her security guards food during lunch, who still carried thank you in her mouth like password. And Madam Jane? She was watching, quietly, silently, like a proud mother bird. Then one Thursday afternoon, Rita entered Madam Jane's private office to find a chair empty. The lights were off. Only a small note sat on the table. She picked it up. It read, Asterisk, my daughter. Sometimes blessings come with weight. I want to know how you carry it when I'm not there. I've traveled. Don't try to reach me. Run this company like it's your name on the building. I trust you. Mama. Asterisk. Rita's heart dropped. She looked around. No bag. No driver. No sign. Gone. Again. Just like the first time. She clutched the note to her chest and whispered, Mama, not again. She looked out the window, her reflection shining beside the ocean view, and asked the glass, how did my life change so fast? Then the war began. The vultures started circling. First, it was her relatives. Cousins, uncles, aunties, great nieces from Imo State she had never seen before. They began storming the building with files, lawyers, and saliva flying from their mouths. My name is Chief Damien Uma. I am her late husband's cousin, second branch. That girl is a gold digger. My family has been in this company before she was born. Give us our inheritance. Rita smiled. She didn't fight with shouting. She fought with documents. She pulled out Madam Jane's notarized letters. company registration forms, and the power of attorney that transferred control to her name. They barked. She bit with facts. They screamed. She responded with silence. They cried. She gave them tissue. And when the last cousin left the gate hissing like a broken kettle, the security man looked at her and said, "Auntie Rita, you too get mine." She smiled. "I just a piece." But peace is expensive, especially when your success embarrasses the demons in people. Some staff began planning in secret. One IT guy whispered, "We go leak her old photos online. Let dem see where she dey come from." A marketer said, "If we can plant a small scandal, she go fall." They plotted like rats behind a bakery wall, forgetting that Madame Jane might be far, but she wasn't blind. In a quiet server room, a blinking light was watching everything. One evening, as Rita was packing up to leave, the receptionist walked in with a large envelope. "Ma, someone dropped this to you at the gate." Inside the envelope was a picture, an old photo of Rita selling oranges on the street. She smiled. She took a pen, signed the back, and wrote, "Yes, I started here, but I didn't stay here." She framed the photo and hung it in her new office. Let the whole world know she didn't fall into success. She earned it with kindness, sweat, and God. And just when the city began to think Madame Jane had vanished forever, the Queen returned. And this time, she came with fire. It was a Friday morning. Lagos was waking up slowly. Cars honking, Agboros shouting destinies away at bus stops, and banks preparing to stress customers as usual. Inside J-Tech Towers, things were calm. Too calm. The staff moved like puppets, smiling too hard, greeting too loud, sending emails like their lives depended on the send button. Why? Because the gossip had started. She's not coming back. Madame Jane is gone forever. That Rita girl must have driven her away. And for the past 2 weeks, Rita had run the company alone, signed deals, fired lazy staff, launched 2 new tech products, even gave every junior staff a 20,000 Nigerian nairas salary raise. She was doing well, but still, the eyes never stopped watching her like CCTV. Even the gate man now greeted her with, "Good morning, Ma," followed by small sided like, "How long will you last?" Rita didn't mind. She had learned how to walk in fire without smelling of smoke. But on that Friday morning, the air shifted. The sky grew tense. The building began to buzz. Then they saw the convoy. Jet black jeeps with plates that said J001. Security men in all black. Drivers with dark glasses. Even the air smelled expensive. The staff stood. Phones dropped. Mouths opened. And from the middle jeep, she stepped out. Madame Jane, looking younger, fresher, bolder, richer, in an emerald green gown that made people question their salary choices. Her shoe heels hit the marble floor like a judge banging down a verdict. She was back, and this time, she wasn't smiling. The first meeting she called was for all staff, everyone, cleaners, managers, security, receptionists, drivers. Rita stood beside her, not as cleaner, not as assistant, but as co-owner. People were confused, worried, shaking. Then Madame Jane spoke, and her voice was not soft this time. It was thunder. For the past few weeks, I watched all of you from a distance. Cameras, emails, secret reports. I saw everything. You could hear hearts breaking. Some of you mocked Rita when I wasn't here. Some of you tried to bring her down. Some of you plotted to embarrass her. Gasps, glances, sweat. But let me remind you, she is here today not because of pity, not because of luck, but because of character. She turned to Rita. You clothed me when you had nothing. You stood up for me when others insulted me. You gave me food when your own stomach was growling. That is leadership. Then she opened a red folder. And read it loud. From today onwards, I, Madame Jane Uma, hereby resign as CEO of J-Tech Systems. What? People screamed. Phones dropped. One guy fainted in slow motion, like a Nollywood extra. But she wasn't done. I hereby transfer 60% of my shares, my estate in Banana Island, my Abuja residence, and full control of J-Tech Towers to Miss Rita Nwokolo. Silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. Rita's mouth opened, but no words came out. Madam Jane smiled and hugged her. You're not just my cleaner. You're my daughter now. Cue the tears. Real tears. Ugly crying. Nose running, chest heaving. Hold me before I fall tears. Staff began clapping, then cheering, then jumping. Even the IT guy that tried to leak her photo hugged her leg and said, Ma, please forgive me. Oh, I've changed. That evening, Rita walked into her new office. But this time, she wasn't wearing a faded dress. She wore a fitted suit. Hair packed. Heels tall. Eyes bright. She sat on a leather chair, looked at the ocean view, and whispered, Mama, we made it. Madam Jane entered quietly, holding 2 glasses of Zobo. They toasted. 2 women. One who had everything but wanted love. One who had nothing but gave love. Now, they had each other. And in the streets of Lagos, when the bus stops are full and passengers are shouting, there's a new story mothers tell their daughters. A new legend cleaners whisper during lunch breaks. Be kind, oh, you never know who's watching. Because one day, the woman with torn wrapper might be the queen holding the keys to your kingdom.